I saw myself as the weakest person God ever created. I came from a horrible background. I got called nigger every day of my life growing up, lived in a small town. One of the high ups in the KKK, son, sat behind me in 2 classes, so he called me nigger all the time. Got my first car, they spray painted nigger, we're gonna kill you on it. So I was just an insecure, scared kid. But the best thing that happened to me, no one helped me. So the things that we run from, we're running from the truth. We're running from the truth, man. As painful and as brutal as it is, we have the ability to go in such a space if you're willing to suffer, and I mean suffer. Your brain and your body, once connected together, can do anything. The only way you're ever going to get to the other side of this journey is you have got to suffer to grow. To grow, you must suffer. So I wanted to change to be the hardest man ever created. And my goal when I was sitting there, not going to school, being bullied, having no self-esteem, my goal was the only person that's gonna turn this person around is me. How? That's the question. How are you gonna do that? I had to build calluses in my brain the same way I built calluses on my hands. So I broke the Guinness Book of World Records for pull-ups a long time ago, but I failed at it twice. And I did 67,000 pull-ups in trying to break this record. So to do 4,030 pull-ups, I had to do 67,000 for training for that. But if you can get through to doing things that you hate to do, on the other side is greatness. That's what people understand. By me running, I am callous in my mind. I'm not training for a race. I'm training for life. I'm training for the time when I get that 2 o'clock in the morning call that my mom is dead or something happens tragic in life. I don't fall apart. I'm training my mind and my body and my spirit so it's all one, so I can handle what life is gonna throw at me. Because the life I've lived, it throws a whole bunch at you. And if you're not physically and mentally prepared for that, you're just gonna crumble and you're good for nobody. Even the hardest men, in times of suffering, what we do is we forget how hard we really are. Suffering is the true test of life. We are all great. No matter if you think you're dumb, no matter if you think you're fat, no matter if you are fat, no matter if you've been bullied, or no matter if you just got back from Iraq or Afghanistan and you have no legs or your arms or whatever, man, we all have greatness.
As Oprah Winfrey said, what you dwell on is what you become. Once you understand that humans are the ultimate adaptation machine and you understand that the brain actually builds faster and better connections between the things that you think on, you will begin to understand that it is incredibly important to be thoughtful about what you think about. It's incredibly important to pick a direction that you want to grow in, to decide who you want to become, and then make that the center of your focus, your thoughts, your time, your energy. And if you look inward or if you look outward and you don't like what you see, remember what Jim Rohn said. If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. And that's the beauty. That's the beautiful thing about being a human. We are so plastic and we can change so dramatically. We are so good at adapting that we forget that's literally what we do. But if you can take control of that process, if you can grab a hold of it and make it your own, if you can make it your daily obsession to make the most of your potential, to pick a very specific direction, to pick an end goal, an end state, an end identity, and work your way backwards, find out the steps that you're going to need to take to get there, to execute, and have the willingness to put in the work, to have the willingness to be both the sculptor and the clay, to understand that the suffering that comes with that, of changing yourself, of making yourself into something great, is a suffering well worth it. It's a suffering that you should embrace. It's a suffering that you should run towards, because in that suffering you can become anything you want. So start to dwell on that. Dwell on a vision of you being great. Dwell on a vision of you accomplishing your goals. Dwell on a vision of you having done this amazing thing that you want to do, dwell on an image of you being willing to sweat and bend yourself in half and break if need to and bleed when necessary to become the vision of yourself you always knew you could become. Dwell on that, and nothing can stop you. As Joseph Campbell said, we're so engaged in doing things to achieve purposes of outer value that we forget the inner value. The rapture that is associated with being alive is what it's all about. That, my friends, is the name of the game. You've got to figure out what it is that actually makes you feel alive. And if you understand that the game that you're playing is actually a game of brain chemistry and that nothing else matters, there's no objective truth, there's no one path to glory, there's no one life for you to live. There's only the subjective truth, the thing inside you, that gut instinct, that voice that whispers to you. You've got to learn to trust that. You've got to learn to trust it by building it up. You've got to learn to trust it by taking actions and gut checking yourself and asking, is that me? Is that who I want to be? Or is that somebody else, cultural voice, my parents, my lover, whatever, trying to speak through me? And as Harley Davidson said, when writing the story of your life, don't let anyone else hold the pen. So right now, ask yourself, who's writing your story? Is it you? Are you really listening to the voice in your head? Are you looking at and living by the things that give you the chills? Or are you trying to live a life that somebody else wants for you? And remember, when you think about that question, what William James said, act as if what you do matters, because it does. Even if for nobody else, every step you take, every thought that you allow to permeate your mind, everything that you obsess about, your dreams, the things that you want, the hopes that you spend your time with, they matter to you because they tell you who you are. They tell you who you're trying to become. And ultimately, those things that you let monopolize your mind will become you. So if somebody else is holding the pen, if somebody else is forcing you to write something that doesn't make you feel alive, that is a life lost. And that is how you die, my friends, before you ever had a chance to live. As Derek Jeter said, there may be people who have more talent than you, but there's no excuse for anyone to work harder than you do. At the end of the day, whether you believe in talent or not is completely irrelevant. Everyone should believe in hard work. Everything in your life is literally a result of that. You're born an infant, a lump of flesh that can't even hold its own head up. And yet somehow, by practicing, by learning, by growing, you're able to get better. You're literally incapable of anything when you're born. Every skill that you have in your life, all the things that you take for granted, at one point you couldn't do them. So understanding that humans truly are an adaptation machine and that they are capable of acquiring any skill that they want, but it requires hard work. It requires that you do the reps. It requires that you put in the effort. And at the end of the day, the people that you're going to surpass are not going to be the people that have less talent than you. Maybe they even have more talent than you. It's going to be the people that you're willing to outwork. But until you're willing to outwork them, you're always going to be stuck. And as John Irving said, to do anything really well, you have to overextend yourself. And that's the key. If you want to put in an extraordinary performance, if you want to absolutely dazzle people, then you have to do something amazing. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to do things that other people think are going to break you, that other people simply believe there's no way that you could be able to pull that off, that the human animal just is not capable of the lengths to which you are professing to go. And when you profess it, you have to be willing to back it up, and you have to put yourself on that march knowing in no uncertain terms, under no circumstances, and for no reason whatsoever would you ever be willing to back down. And when you go in with that level of certainty, then and only then are you actually going to be able to pull this off. And as Billie Jean King said, champions keep playing until they get it right.
Fatigue will literally chip away at your will to win. It is the thing inside of your mind, that weak voice that tells you that you're not going to be able to make it. The weak voice that begs you to stop, and the weak voice that promises safety and security if you would just quit. And here's the worst part about that. It's right. If you quit right now, if you stop, just sit down, relax. You're not at risk anymore. You're not at risk of embarrassment. You're not at risk of failure. But you're also not at risk of greatness. And if you really want to achieve something, you've got to find ways to put yourself at risk of something great happening. You've got to put yourself at risk of overextending yourself. You've got to be willing to face that you may die, that you may actually fall. And here's the thing, for the people that dismiss that say they would never put themselves in that situation, then you have limits. And make no mistake, those limits are self-placed. And for the people that are willing to push that, for people that are willing to go beyond that, for people who understand there are things in this world that they're prepared to die for, and it is the thing that they put at the center of their life. It is the thing that they are living for, but they're not going to stop, and they understand that where the human mind thinks it will break is far short of where it will actually break. But before you can find that point, you've got to be willing to push yourself. You've got to be willing to go harder and farther than anybody thinks is reasonable or sensible. That's the path. And so the question is, can you be thought a fool? The question is, do you believe in something so much that you would put yourself at risk like that? The question is, can you face down everyone, including the weak voice inside of your own mind, to make the world come true that you want to see come true? Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to do it for you. So if you're a champion, keep going until it's done. Here's the hard truth. People don't necessarily want you to succeed. And the bigger your dream, the more people that are going to come out of the woodwork to try to stop you. As Oliver Emberton said, the only way to avoid pissing people off is to do nothing important. But if you're striving for something important, if you're trying to make real change, if there's something in your life that you are absolutely hell-bent to make happen, you have got to understand that you're going to be fighting against something. People are going to be pushing back against you, and it is going to be your ability to hold true to that vision that's going to determine whether you can pull it off. And as Victor Hugo said, you have enemies? Good. It means you stood up for something at some point in your life. And that's what people miss. They somehow want to get through this unscathed. They somehow hope that with this grand change that they want to make, that people just fall in love, that they see your vision, that they fall in line behind you, and that they want you to lead them. That's not the way that people work. Having a vision already puts you in an incredibly rare group of people. Being able to see something that other people can't see, that is the role of a visionary, is literally to interpret the world that other people don't even know exists and bring it into fruition and get people excited about it, get them to fall in line. But understand, when you build an army, you will have an opposing force. But as Mark Twain said, keep away from those who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that. But the really great ones, they make you believe that you too can become great. And that's the kind of person that you want to surround yourself with. You want to surround yourself with people that believe in you. You want to surround yourself with people that even when they can't see it, they can see you. Even when they don't understand what you're trying to build, they believe in you and they're willing to get in line and they're willing to meet that opposing force. And when you're able to galvanize people around your idea and push it forward and paint for them the world not as it is, but as it could be, that's when you can make change. But you can't be afraid to piss people off. You have to know that they're coming for you, and you have to be willing to fight. Because if you're not willing to fight, you might as well sit down now. So if you're gonna be one of the few that stands up, you've got to stand up prepared for war.
As Daniel Pink said, people fail to achieve mastery not because they aren't talented, but because they aren't disciplined. The wonderful news about the human condition is you can get good at anything that you set your mind to. It's just not going to be easy, and it's not going to be fast. But the willingness to put in that work is what's going to separate you from everybody else. And I'm begging you to see yourself right now, today, as average, as no better than anyone else. But I beg you, with more force than I know how to convey with this language, to see yourself as malleable, to see yourself as capable of becoming anything you want to become truly extraordinary if you can find within yourself the discipline to stick with it long enough. And as Steve Martin said, perseverance is a great substitute for talent. Everybody wants to talk about who's talented. Everybody looks at the person with innate talent as if they have something magical. But to me, it's a gift, it's a handout, it's a freebie. It hasn't been earned. And no matter what it is, it's only the beginning. Even somebody that has talent, even if you get an early win, if you let somebody outwork you, if you let somebody who has more perseverance, more grit than you, then they are going to outperform you on a long enough timeline. The only thing I can guarantee is you will be outworked by somebody unless you pour your heart and soul into getting great. If you don't take days off, if you put yourself into it as if your life depended on it, when you act like that, then you've got a chance to be great. And as Robert Horry said, pressure can bust pipes, but it can also make diamonds. You've got to want that pressure. You've got to want things to be hard. You can't seek out the easy life. You can't just hope and pray that you can uncover inside of you some talent that's laid dormant that you didn't know about that's going to let things be easy for you. Don't want the easy. Want the hard. Want the pressure. Want the thing that's going to turn you into something. Because when it's easy, you don't work for it. When it's easy, you don't push. When it's easy, you get surpassed by the person who has to give it their all, who's prepared to do blood, sweat, and tears in order to become that thing that they want to be so badly because they are so fucking angry that they were never given anything. And with that chip on their shoulder, they're determined to become anything that they set their mind to. So whether you have talent, whether you don't, the only thing that matters is, will you persevere? Will you stick with it long enough to get great? As John F. Kennedy said, there are risks and costs to a program of action, but they are far less than the long-range risks and costs of comfortable inaction. There's just something about the status quo that is literally intoxicating. You don't want to move. You don't want to put things at risk. You want to keep things as they are. And I get it. Change is scary. Change may be one of the single most paralyzing elements that we as humans face. That in your space, in that little area that you've carved out for yourself, it may be small and it may keep you less than you could be, but God damn it, does it feel good? Because it's safe. Because you know your enemies. You know where everything is at. You know all the things that you need to know to feel comfortable. But in that comfort is a world that shrinks around you, is a world that literally is forcing you to confine yourself to the size of that box. It's making you only as big as the space that you've allowed yourself. So whatever change you refuse to embrace, not only does it freeze you in time, but it stunts your growth. And if you want to become something, that is literally the act of changing. It is literally the act of rebirth, of making yourself something new. But in that, you must face the terror of change. You must face that you may fail. You must face that you may embarrass yourself. You have to face that in the unknown could be the worst. But unless you're able to do that, you'll never get to taste the vastness of living outside the box, that merely having a life that isn't confined is in and of itself far more interesting and beautiful than anything could ever be when it is locked in one place. When you have a box that has no windows, your world can be nothing but a wall. But when you have a window, when you have a door, that becomes an entryway into something completely new. And as Pablo Picasso said, action is the fundamental key to all success. So if you want to succeed, if you want something more for your life, you have to be willing to walk through that door. And if you're in a box that has no door, then you've got to be willing to kick one open. You've got to be willing to claw through feet of concrete if that's what it takes to get on the other side. But you've got to be willing to push yourself out of that comfort zone to find out what could be, to take control of your destiny and realize the fundamental human truth. Only you control what you can be. And if you want to escape, the one thing you need is belief. And as Phil Knight said, belief is irresistible. Once you believe that you can act in accordance with something that will actually help move you forward, once you believe to the core of your being that there is no one better suited to building the life of your dreams than you, then suddenly safety becomes the least safe thing that you could do. Suddenly, being in a space that is so narrowly defined is the only thing that's going to choke the life out of you. So the only real risk is not to have faith in yourself. The only real risk is to stay put. The only real risk is to play it safe. So my friends, find that belief in yourself. Take that risk. Act. Move. Do something. Define a new life. Build a new you. That's the key to success.
Everyone takes the limits of their own vision for the limits of the world. Arthur Schopenhauer. There is all around you right now the reflections of your world belief. They're so ever present that you don't even see them. All the assumption that you've made about the world, the things that are possible, what you're capable of, who you are, the very definition of what it means to be alive, all of it is completely invisible. And you're mistaking what you have for what could be. And once you break free of that, once you understand that right now you're a moment in time and that you have latent potential, and that latent potential can be expressed in the form of skills, that you can get good at things, that you can develop yourself in any direction, that brain plasticity alone is one of the greatest weapons that you're not using. But you have to move beyond what you can perceive today. You have to begin to look beyond that and see that which doesn't yet exist. And you have to remember that many of the things that are holding you down are rules that you don't even realize are rules. And as General Douglas MacArthur said, you're remembered for the rules you break. And right now, you're following rules that you don't even realize exist. And some of those rules are simply what is okay to dream. But I'm here to tell you, the power is in recognizing that you can do it. The power is in having the arrogance of belief. The power is in understanding that you, yes, you are going to be capable of something simply because you are willing to believe in yourself. And that's the thing, it's a willingness to believe in yourself. No one's going to give it to you. Even the people that love you, they're not going to give you that. They are incapable of giving it to you. People cannot see past their limitations, and they take them for truth. People actually believe the things that have stopped them will forever not only stop them, but they will stop other people. How can they hope to give you anything but limitation? So if you know that even the people that love you, what they're handing you is limitation with the best of fucking intentions, with all the love in the world, how are you going to break out of that? How are you going to break past those rules? How are you going to fight the anxiety that inevitably comes your way when you think about going against the grain? But my friends, until you can do that, you can never get beyond the bullshit that limits you. If people said gravity is what it is, we never would have reached escape velocity. And yet, as a species, we have been able to hurl a fucking rocket into space, get it outside of gravity, take us to other planets. That is real only because somebody said, I refuse to be held down by the most obvious rule that we have, the one that everybody says is beyond reproach, and that is gravity. But even gravity will break under the weight of a superior will. So recognize, as Epictetus said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Can you be content to be thought foolish and stupid? Or do you allow yourself to be caged, to be hemmed in by what other people think? And look, I get it. I understand the sting of contempt. I understand how much it sucks when someone you respect doesn't respect you. But you cannot be anything more than their captive if you think about what they think about you. If you let yourself be defined by what other people perceive of as you, then you will forever be limited by what they give you permission to do. And I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I said, when I'm an adult, I will never fucking be told what to do again. I will never be held back by somebody else. I will define myself. I will figure out what I need to do, and I will do it. And at the end of the day, that is it. My goals drive my behavior. I am not held back by what other people think about me, no matter how fucking intoxicating it is to be loved. You have to decide what you want more. Do you want to be you, or do you want to be someone else's reflection of you? Everybody wants to be successful, but virtually nobody understands that success is a path. It's a process. It's not a finish line. It's not something that you do once and then you finish. It is literally the systematic acquisition of skills. And as Scott Adams said, every skill you acquire doubles your odds of success. And that's it, that's the secret. If you really want to do something in your life, if you really want to be great, if you want to smash it, if you want to be remembered, the key is to acquire as many skills as you can, because everything that you bring into your world gives you an exponentially greater chance of winning, of doing the thing that you want to do. But you have to be totally focused and committed on gaining those skills. And as The Rock pointed out, success at anything will always come down to this: focus and effort, and we control both. Once you understand that that's what you have to do, you have to get control of yourself. You have to stay focused on something. You have to learn the discipline and apply it on your path to success to acquire the skills that you want to acquire. That it is going to demand of you that you work harder, you work smarter, and you work longer than anybody else. And that's the fucking secret. There really is no grand mystery. If you want to be successful, if you want to do something other people can't do, then you have to become capable of the extraordinary. You have to become capable of doing something that other people can't, and that is the best possible news I could give you. Because it doesn't matter what you're born with. It doesn't even matter who you are. What matters is who you want to become and the price that you're willing to pay to get there. And let me tell you this, the price is known, and that price is the acquisition of skills. That price is getting so good that people can't ignore you. That price is being able to beat anyone at the game that you've chosen to play. Once you get to that point, once people stand back in awe when they watch what you're doing, then you will have won. Then success will be yours. But it was in no uncertain terms the result of the path that you walked. And as Angela Duckworth notes, enthusiasm is common, but endurance is rare. So when you sneak out that first lead, when you get ahead of people and you think, hey, I've acquired this skill, I've done something, people are looking at me like I can't be stopped. Remember that right now, at this moment, someone is practicing. While you're not doing the thing that you need to be doing, while you're sitting back in your laurels, very happy with what you've accomplished, somebody else is going to eat your lunch because they have a passion and enthusiasm that endures. And at the end of the day, if you can want something so badly, if you fucking burn from the inside to do something, to become something, to become capable of more, then you will endure. Then you'll be able to push past other people. Then when other people break and they lie in your wake, you will push forward, because that fucking thing in you that you have cultivated is the ability to endure. It is not the ability to be a badass. It is not the ability to think that you're cool. It is the ability to kick your own ass, to deal with what is boring, to live in the pain, to step towards anguish, to know that suffering is a choice and you choose to turn it off, because you know on the other side of endurance, on the other side of outlasting everybody else, is a skill set that makes you unstoppable.